Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a truth that is as simple as it is powerful. The life you are living right now is a direct reflection of what you choose to control and what you allow to control you. Every day, you wake up with the opportunity to shape your reality, but most people give their power away to habits, emotions, and distractions that sabotage their growth. Today, I want you to imagine what your life would look like if you reclaimed that power. If you took control of just four things: your mouth, your mind, your mood, and your money. These are not just random areas of life. These are levers that directly connect your brain to your behavior and your behavior to your destiny. If you can master these four, you will not only witness change, you will experience a transformation that is immediate, visible, and lasting. The words you speak every day carry far more power than you might realize. Your mouth is not just a tool for communication. It is a transmitter of energy and a direct influence on how your brain operates. When you speak, you are not just talking to the world around you, you are talking to yourself. Your brain listens and responds to what comes out of your mouth. If you constantly speak negatively, if you complain, criticize, or express doubt, your brain begins to accept that language as truth. It starts wiring pathways that support fear, anxiety, and self-limitation. On the other hand, when you speak with purpose, clarity, and confidence, your brain aligns with those signals and begins to reinforce belief, motivation, and focus. Science shows us that language shapes perception. The words you choose influence how you interpret the world and how your nervous system reacts to it. When you say you cannot do something, your brain interprets that as a command to stop trying. When you say you are ready, capable, or determined, the brain releases neurochemicals that increase alertness, energy, and drive. These responses are not imaginary. They are measurable. Cortisol rises with stress, inducing language. Dopamine and serotonin rise when your words create positive expectations. Your mouth sets off a chain reaction that can either support or sabotage your goals. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about speaking truth in a way that empowers you, saying I am learning instead of I am failing, saying I will figure it out instead of I have no idea. These shifts in language create shifts in your brain. You must also understand the impact your words have on your relationships and your environment. When you speak life into others, when you encourage, support, and uplift, you create a space of trust and strength. This is reflected back to you. The energy you speak out is the energy you invite in. But when you speak doubt, blame, or negativity, you create distance and friction. And over time, this affects your emotional stability and sense of connection. If your goal is to grow, to lead, to build a meaningful life, then your mouth must become a tool of alignment and focus. This begins with awareness. Start paying attention to the words you use when you talk about yourself. Do you call yourself lazy, tired, unlucky? Or do you remind yourself that you are improving, adapting, and rising? The difference may seem small, but the impact is massive over time. The brain builds what the mouth declares. That is how identity is formed. That is how habits begin. Your speech creates momentum, either forward or backward. If you can take control of this one area, your entire mindset begins to shift. Speak with intention. Speak with belief. Speak in a way that reflects the life you want to live. Because once your brain hears the right message often enough, it starts to believe it. And once it believes it, it begins to act on it. That is when real transformation begins. The mind is the command center of your entire life. Every decision you make, every reaction you have, every emotion you feel, is filtered through the lens of your mind. Most people go through life allowing their minds to be hijacked by distractions, fears, and endless streams of thoughts without ever realizing the cost. The untrained mind jumps from one thing to another, easily influenced by external noise and internal doubt. But when you begin to take control of your mind, when you train it with focus, discipline, and intention, everything begins to change. Your mind becomes a tool that serves you rather than a force that controls you. Neuroscience shows that the brain is incredibly plastic, meaning It can be shaped and molded through experience and repetition. This is called neuroplasticity. Every time you focus on something with intention, you are reinforcing a pattern inside your brain. When you allow your thoughts to wander aimlessly, your brain builds more circuits for distraction and restlessness. But when you sit in stillness, when you bring your attention back to a single point, whether it is your breath, your goal, or your values, your brain begins to strengthen the circuits for clarity, focus, and self-control. This is not a theory. It is a biological process, and it is available to everyone. Your thoughts are not facts. They are suggestions. Most people do not know this. They think that if a thought appears in the mind, it must be true. But in reality, your brain throws up thoughts all day long based on past experiences, emotional patterns, and random associations. You do not have to believe every thought. You do not have to follow every impulse. You can choose, and that choice is the beginning of mental strength. You can choose to reframe your thinking. You can choose to pause before reacting. You can choose to focus on what matters even when your mind tries to run in another direction. Training the mind is like training a muscle. It requires consistency. Tools like mindfulness, meditation, breathing exercises, cold exposure, and even daily reflection can enhance the way your brain processes stress and uncertainty. These practices increase activation in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking, long-term planning, and impulse control. When this area is strong, you make better decisions. You respond rather than react. You stay grounded under pressure. You move with purpose rather than being pushed by emotions. Taking control of your mind does not mean eliminating all negative thoughts. It means learning how to direct your attention and energy in ways that support your goals and values. It means building mental habits that serve you instead of sabotage you. The greatest leaders, athletes, and creators all have one thing in common. They have trained their minds to focus in the face of chaos, to stay steady when everything around them is uncertain. And you can do the same, because the mind you build is the life you live. Train it wisely, and everything else follows. Mood is not something random that simply happens to you. It is a direct result of how your brain and body respond to your environment, your habits, and your thoughts. Many people live at the mercy of their emotions, letting their mood dictate how they act, how they treat others, and how they perform. But science shows that mood is something you can influence and regulate. It is not fixed, and it is not beyond your control. You have the ability to shape your mood every single day through your actions, your routines, and your mindset. The brain is constantly producing chemical signals that affect how you feel. Two of the most important chemicals involved in mood are dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine is linked to motivation, energy, and drive. Serotonin is connected to feelings of stability, confidence, and well-being. The levels of these chemicals can be influenced by simple daily choices. Exposure to sunlight first thing in the morning triggers a natural increase in dopamine, which helps you feel more awake, focused, and ready to act. Movement, especially physical exercise, releases a cascade of neurochemicals that improve your emotional state and reduce stress. Even something as basic as hydration and nutrition can make a noticeable difference in how you feel throughout the day. One powerful way to take control of your mood is by managing your environment. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift and challenge you has a direct impact on your emotional state. Social connection activates reward systems in the brain that boost feelings of happiness and reduce anxiety. On the other hand, spending time in toxic environments or with people who drain your energy can cause a spike in cortisol, the stress hormone, and leave you feeling tense, frustrated, or low. You must choose your surroundings with intention if you want to build a stable and elevated mood. Another important factor is your internal dialogue. The way you talk to yourself creates an emotional climate within your mind. If you constantly criticize yourself, focus on what is wrong, or replay negative experiences, your brain will respond with stress and low energy. But if you practice gratitude, reflection, and positive self-talk, you will activate brain systems that enhance resilience and calm. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It is about guiding your attention toward what empowers you rather than what drains you. Sleep also plays a major role in mood regulation. Poor sleep disrupts brain chemistry, makes emotional regulation more difficult, and reduces your capacity to handle pressure. A consistent sleep routine, along with proper exposure to natural light and reduction of stimulants, can restore balance and help you maintain a more consistent emotional state. Mood is not destiny, it is feedback. It is your brain giving you signals about what needs attention, what habits need to change, and where your energy needs to be directed. When you begin to listen to those signals and respond with care and strategy, your mood becomes a tool rather than an obstacle. You do not have to wait to feel better. You can act your way into a better mood by changing how you move, how you think, and how you live. Money is one of the most misunderstood and emotionally charged areas of life. For many people, it represents stress, fear, or even shame. But at its core, money is not just a number in a bank account. It is a mirror that reflects how you think, how you plan, and how much responsibility you are willing to take for your future. Controlling your money is not just about becoming wealthy. It is about gaining freedom, stability, and peace of mind. When you learn to manage money with discipline and awareness, you also begin to take control of your behavior, your mindset, and your future. Neuroscience tells us that financial stress impacts the brain in powerful ways. It reduces cognitive flexibility, limits your ability to focus, and triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol. When this happens, your brain narrows its attention and starts reacting from a place of survival rather than strategy. This means you are more likely to make impulsive choices, take short-term risks, and delay important long-term decisions. But when you shift from reacting to responding, when you create a plan and stick to it, your brain starts operating from a place of clarity and confidence. That shift changes everything. One of the most important parts of controlling money is understanding that every financial choice is a reflection of how you value yourself. Spending impulsively often comes from a desire to feel better in the moment. But saving, investing, and budgeting are acts of self-respect. They say, I care about my future self. I am willing to delay pleasure now to create freedom later. This mindset builds long-term stability not just in your finances, but also in your emotional and mental life. Because the person who has control over money is the person who is no longer controlled by fear. Financial control is also about habits. Small daily actions like tracking expenses, avoiding unnecessary debt, and setting aside a portion of income for the future may seem simple, but they compound over time. These habits teach your brain to associate money with order and confidence instead of chaos and anxiety. And as those patterns build, your stress reduces, your focus improves, and your energy can be directed toward more meaningful goals. Money also impacts relationships and self-worth. When you are in control of your finances, you carry yourself differently. You make decisions from a place of strength, not desperation. You stop comparing yourself to others and begin measuring success by your own standards. This internal shift leads to better choices, greater resilience, and more authentic connections with the people around you. So do not avoid money. Do not fear it. Use it as a tool to build structure in your life. Take responsibility for how you earn, spend, save, and invest. Because when you control money, you take back your power. And that power translates into a life of freedom, purpose, and peace. You do not have to be rich to be financially free. You simply have to be intentional. That decision changes everything.